Welcome to the Pop Art Portrait Part 1. The first thing you need to do is file open a picture of yourself. Here I have a selfie that I took because most of the time I'm teaching while you guys are taking your pictures in class. But you guys should find a high resolution image for yourself. It's going to turn out much better. The next thing that we're going to do is crop it. And instead of 1 by 1 square, what we're going to type in is we're going to go to width times height times resolution here. And we're going to go 4 inches, 4 inches, and 300 pixels per inch. So 300 pixels per inch is what you need to print. 72 is all you need to see it clearly on a screen. So a lot of web images, Instagram images, and all that stuff go up at 72, but our printer really prefers 300 so that it's not pixelated. So now that I'm 4 by 4 by 300 pixels, I'm going to crop this in. I don't think I need to crop it in much because it's already square. Maybe just to the point where you don't see my hand. And then we're going to hit return on our keyboard. So now what we've done is we've actually changed the width and height of this picture to 4 inches by 4 inches. And we're going to need that later on. So if you didn't do that step, you should go back and do that quickly. The next step we're going to do is grab our polygon lasso tool and we're going to make a layer mask. Something we've been doing all trimester. So I'm going to go all the way around myself, straight across the top there. And straight across the bottom. There we are. Next, we want to go back to this corner here, the quick mask tool. Again, the rectangle with the circle through it. Click on that, and it brings up your mask thumbnail, which you can edit using the white and black. White brings back some of this hair that I need. And black, hitting X on your keyboard, can be used to remove it. Honestly, I think I took away more than I needed to. If you have some fuzzies like this right here, and it has a light background like mine does, you can actually keep it. So if you have frizzier hair or curls or anything that you would like to keep some of that frizz, go right ahead. Actually, that's starting to look weird, so I'm going to cut it off there. Because as long as it's a light background, it's not going to actually interfere too much with what we're doing this time around. Because we're going to be adding a very specific type of filter. All right. So that's a pretty well cleaned up mask, except maybe up here. That's actually more wool than my hair. All right. So the next thing to do is to create the Lichtenstein effect. Now we're going to go straight over here to our face. This is also the time that you can come in with the healing spot brush tool. Rid of some blackheads. Those are not pimples. Those are all freckles. Blackhead or two. Right? We all have something we'd like to just remember. Subtlety is the key, though. All right. And now that we're on our thumbnail of ourselves, not the layer mask thumbnail, but the thumbnail of ourselves down here in the corner, we can default our colors back to black and white. You default your colors, your foreground and background color, by hitting the D on your keyboard. So let's say I had actually set it to some fun color here. If I hit D on my keyboard, it defaults it back to black on top, white on the bottom. And that's what it needs to be for our filter. After we've set the colors, the next thing to do is to go up here to Filter, Filter Gallery. Now, the filter gallery is a lot of fun. You can play with it kind of in your own time, but for right now, I'm going to zoom out here, and I'm going to specifically go to Sketch, Halftone Pattern. And now you're going to start to see, we're going to get that Lichtenstein dot effect from his pop art. So we're kind of combining Lichtenstein and Warhol. So we're going to up the size of our dots till we can see some nice clear dots. Now it might be different for you versus me. I have a lower resolution image. You really should be working with a much higher one. Your dots are probably going to be up near 8 or 10. Contrast, you should have a spot where it's bright white and a spot where it's black. So right here you can see my hair is kind of starting to disappear and my glasses are really black, but not so much that my eye has disappeared. And so we're going to hit OK. And now you kind of have this black and white dotted version of yourself. The next thing to do is to create some layers. So right down here is the new layer tool. We're going to click that twice. We're going to rename one by double clicking on the name to background 1 and color 1. And we're going to put it so that color 1 is directly below our face and background 1 is below all of that. Then we're going to come back to our layer 0 and we are going to change this from normal to multiply. This is going to tell Photoshop that every color that we put underneath our image should multiply into or show through our face. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to lock this layer because we don't want to mess with it. Like, it's done, we don't want to screw it up, so we're going to lock it with the little padlock icon. Now, if you're following along correctly, you have layer 0 padlocked, a color 1, and a background 1. So we're going to come here to background 1. I'm going to go to swatches, and pop is full of bright colors that really stand out. So think of the neons, think of just the bright ones. You kind of want to stay away from pastels. You really want to stay from like jewel tones, something that don't want to be too light or too dark. You want to just have really bright popping colors. So I'm going to start with maybe this orange. And I'm going to grab a new tool called the Paint Bucket tool. Underneath the Gradient tool is located the Paint Bucket tool. If you've ever played with Microsoft Paint, this is the exact same tool. So we're going to grab that. And with our layer background selected, we're just going to click. Ta-da! So that multiply thing is what has happened to bring all that color forward. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to our brush tool. And we're going to click on the color 1. This is where we're going to color in parts of our face. You need to add at least 4 additional colors for 5 total. You want to make sure that the hardness of your brush is on 100%, but the size of your brush doesn't really matter. In fact, I suggest that you change it depending on what you're coloring. So I'm going to come in with the blue and go in and color my hair. So I'm doing this kind of messy at first because I want to show you why we're doing this on a separate layer. So come in here. Really, really blue hair. Alright. So this is a little messy. I expect you guys should take a lot longer, take your time. What we're going to do after this is the eraser tool, which looks like a little eraser. If you click and hold, it says eraser tool. Because color 1's on its own layer, we can actually go back and edit it. Smooth it out, make it look a little better. Be like, oops, I went too far. And you can change the size of the eraser tool the same way you change the size and hardness of your paintbrush. Oh, I did it again. All right. So let's pick up some more bright colors. Maybe I'll do bright pink for my shirt. I'm coming in with this big brush at first so that I can get some coverage in there. And then what I'm going to do is lower the size of my brush and come back and get more of the details, especially where this hair is involved. If you have dark hair, you won't really be able to color your hair. If you notice that the shadows don't get colored, and that's just kind of how this works. So just wanted to let you know that. So don't freak out if you're like, I can't see the color. If it's black, it doesn't show through. It only shows through where it was white.
Juror View, please come to Student Support Services. Juror View to Student Support Services.
After that interruption, you want to keep going. You want to color in more and more. All right, after you've added your colors, and you have at least 5. Let's see here. I have orange, 1, pink, 2, red, 3, blue, white, and green. That's 6. The next thing you want to do is save this. So we are going to go up to File, Save As, and we're going to put this into our Google Drive. My Drive, into our Photography 1 folder. Now you want to rename this to Pop 1 or Warhol 1. That's up to you. And you want to change the format to JPEG. And then hit Save. So now you have 1 out of 4. The way to get started on the next 3 is to hide these 2 layers and create 2 more. This one is now background 2 and and color 2. You have these for reference still if you need them. So I've already used orange as my background. This time I'm going to use, green. And then I'm going to come up here to color, and I'm going to, class started, we're going to cover and start painting in ourselves. So you're going to take your time and do that very well like you did the last time. And after you're done, you're going to File, Save As again. This time it's going to be Pop or Warhol 2, and then Pop or Warhol 3, and then 4. When you've done 4, you're done, and you can move on to part 2. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me when I get back, when I'm available. Raise your hand in class, and I'm here to help. But again, you're going to want to make 4 different pop art portraits. You're going to use 5 colors, 4 if you do not include the background color. And you never have to redo that layer mask and filter, because it's always going to be right there. Now, that being said, your final thing you want to do, especially if you do not finish today, is File, Save As. And you want to save a Photoshop version of this into your Google Drive, into your photography folder, so that you don't lose the layers that you've been working on. If you don't finish today, this is the #1 thing you need to do, is File, Save As, a Photoshop document, Warhol or Pop, PSD, you don't need to add a number to it, as long as it is a PSD version of this document, and hit Save. And there you go. Best of luck, and ask if you have any questions.